Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. Today we're going to go ahead and cover Brie Campos. One of you guys suggested I look into her on the Instagram. So I was like, let's go ahead and do this. So I found this podcast that she was on called Find Your Strong. I'm interested. I don't know anything about her. So I'm going in totally blind. And we're going to do this together. So let's go.
Welcome to another episode of the Find Your Strong podcast with me, Christine Chessman.
And me, Ella Law. and
yeah, we're so practiced, aren't we? So rehearsed.
Totally.
Today we have a really very special guest for you who needs no introduction, but we're going to introduce her anyway, Brie Campos. Now, if I'm not pronouncing that right, Brie, please correct me. I have been working with Brie for a while now, and I was such a fangirl before I worked with her, and now I'm an even bigger fangirl, I have to say. She is really helping me with some business coaching. So you might not know that Brie is also a business coach extraordinaire, which she might talk to you a bit about as we go through the podcast. But the main reason that I wanted to talk to Brie today, which we'll get into, is about body grief and specifically bargaining, the bargaining phase of body grief, which we will explore. But first things first, welcome, Brie.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I always say, you don't need to fangirl over me. I am just a girl from Jersey who loves talking about body image. So I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much.
And you also love coffee and bagels. So I can't get any better.
That's what I've eaten today. I've just had coffee and bagels, actually.
Yeah, but not a New Jersey bagel.
Not a New Jersey bagel. No.
Yeah, we like that's that, and we don't pump our own gas. Like those are our two flexes.
Do you not?
We do not. I think we're the only state that doesn't pump gas. I know.
Wow.
I'm old enough to remember people doing that for us. This is like even in Northern Ireland, we used to have somebody do it for you. That was so nice.
Yeah, we're a very privileged state. We're like, we don't need to pump our own gas.
No diesel on your hands.
The Jersey girls don't pump gas, we pump fists. So
Okay, the small talk section. It's always interesting to listen to just to kind of get like a vibe check. I don't have that much of a vibe check other than, I don't know. I feel like they don't know how to talk to her. That's all I can say. That's like the vibe I'm getting. It's very like low key though. It's just a little snooze fest-ish right now.
If you are listening, if you're not listening live,
Technical issues.
Head to head with Kamala Harris. So, Brie, we might talk about that a little bit. But first, we're going to get into a little bit about your story. I would love you just to talk to us about how you landed in this body image space and specifically the body grief space.
Yeah. So my origin story of, how I came to become a body image coach. I first was licensed as a mental health counselor. I still am in the state of New Jersey. But I exist in a larger body. I identify as being fat. When I use the word fat, I use it in a reclaimed way. I don't mean it in a discriminatory way. I don't mean it in a way that is like degrading. And I know that word used to bother me. And I used to be bothered when people would identify as fat. And so I've always, I was always on a weight loss journey, thinking that finding weight loss was going to help me become the person I was supposed to be, and that the world would get.
I'm kind of calling a little bit of BS on that. I'm interested to know, like, if she's going to say that, I'd like to know what she actually did. How much did she actually lose? how many times, right? Like this type of stuff. I want to hear specifics when people say things like that. That's just how I think. The person who suggested this to me did suggest that she definitely has some toxic ritualistic stuff going on, which, that is definitely a warning sign. But I'm curious to know how much fluctuation was going on. Like, I wish that she would give specifics. She probably won't. Sorry if I trip over my words. I still am having a little bit of a migraine. I'm in the everlasting migraine phase of my hormone cycles, I guess, right now. But it doesn't hurt that bad. It's just, it is still there, is what I'm trying to say. Having a lot of physical changes during this great solstice time, which we love. We love.
To see the real me, I used to say things like, I feel like I'm in a fat suit, and that if people could just see beneath the fatness, they would see who the real me is. And never clocked that as self-esteem, never clocked that as a wound, because it was being celebrated. And
I view it differently. I definitely view things more so as who we are evolves over time. So there are really only two parts of myself within my WL journey. I don't know. You know how YouTube is. There are only two parts of me that I don't acknowledge as a part of myself, that I view as a corruption of self. And that has to do with my toxic ritualistic behaviors and mindsets. That was not a part of who I am. That was pathological on a mental level. And then the severe hypothyroidism that affected how my brain was working, which was also pathological but physical. So those two aspects I don't view as a part of myself. It was difficult to separate from who I am. But other than that, as far as actual body image or whatever, I view it all as me, just me at different times. Just like I put on the weight, I took it off, basically. I'm still me. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I don't necessarily think of it as I harbor such horrible feelings towards how I looked. I just harbor feelings towards the actual issues. Like I've said, I wish I could just abolish hypothyroidism off the face of the earth. And you know how I feel. At least a lot of you guys know how I feel about the toxic ritualistic, aka E followed by the letter D, particularly BINGE. There is a link in the description talking about that if you don't know what I'm talking about, but I have to call it that. So basically, that I actually hate with the fire of 1,000 suns. Hypothyroidism, I feel like it is just so awful. It's just oh my God, that's kind of how I feel about it. But as far as the actual how I look and whatever, I don't put such value judgments on it. I just view it as it is for the most part. I do try to improve where I can, but I don't harbor a lot of emotion towards how I look. I think it's better to think about it practically. I do feel satisfaction when I make improvements and things like that, but I know exactly where the improvements came from. I know what went behind it, etc. So I keep it very realistic. And I don't have mystical beliefs about caloric intake. I'm a strong supporter of caloric realism and body neutrality, basically. I think that those are really great tools within a toxic ritualistic recovery. So let's go ahead and continue.
Being confirmed by the people around me. And so it wasn't until I got to grad school where I ended up getting an internship in the exercise field. It says this quote, What was diagnosed in them was being prescribed to me, right? What was being diagnosed in people in small bodies was quote unquote because it was for quote unquote health. And I just started to see these discrepancies between what I said and what I did. We call it a cognitive dissonance, right? So I'd say,
So within other issues, would you consider somebody who is severely underweight, would a part of recovery be to normalize that? I would say she probably would say yes. There's a different kind where you tend to upsize drastically. Would it also not be a part of recovery to normalize weight? You see how that works? Do you see how that works? I find a lot of people with these issues, if people who have the BINGE issue that don't want to get out, they're going to usually say one of two things. They're going to say, I have food addiction. That's a big one. And I've talked about it a lot. Or they're going to say, I have E5 by the letter D, but I have this other one. Typically, atypical blank. That's their go-to. But it's not real. It's not true. In either case, it isn't true. What you have is somebody that has BINGE, toxic ritualistic behaviors. There is a reductive part of that issue. And reductive, I have to say that word, but I think you can figure out what I mean. And sometimes it can even be a lot quickly, but there tends to be an upsize after. And that's how you can tell if somebody has BINGE. There's a lot of fluctuation still, but not always. But there's usually at least a history of fluctuation. Even if somebody is no longer fluctuating, they typically had a period of time where they were.
I'm going to do this for my health. And then this thing would then cause me to spiral. And I'm like, well, that can't be healthy. And so I really had to reckon, is this the pursuit of health or is this the pursuit of thinness? And it became very clear that those two things were not mutually exclusive.
So I wish that she would describe what she means by spiral. When I hear spiral, I had a lot of anxiety, which, remember, BINGE, it is rooted in anxiety. It is an anxiety issue, primarily. It's rooted in fear. The emotional quality behind it is fear. So obviously, if you're no longer engaging in the behaviors, you're going to have to reckon with anxiety psychologically, because it is a coping mechanism designed to handle that anxiety. Typically, I would say basically exclusively caused by some trauma, by a traumatic event. Or traumatic events. It could be a series. It could be like extreme chronic stress, that could be enough, or something acute. That would cause it too. But regardless, it becomes a way of dealing with anxiety. So of course, when you're no longer engaging in those behaviors, when you're no longer engaging in the cycle, you're going to feel anxious. It is a ridiculous standard to believe that you are not going to be anxious throughout recovery. It is just laughable. And for me, it's no excuse. If you tell me that, I'm like, oh, honey, you're anxious anyways. It doesn't actually help you. That's cute. You can't fool me. So when she says I spiraled, I hear I was anxious. There can be the other case too, where she could be struggling with hypothyroidism just by virtue of being the size she is. Adipose tissue, as we know, is hormonally active. And when you have a huge amount of it, you produce way too much estrogen. Estrogen opposes thyroid hormone. Therefore, you can develop hypothyroidism by virtue of the size alone. Even if you're producing, your high estrogen will counteract the effects. Even if you're on medication, the high estrogen will counteract the effects. You need to lose weight as a part of hypothyroid recovery. But regardless, what is a side effect of hypothyroidism? Anxiety. That's one of the first signs that somebody has it, is that they're anxious for no reason. It's something that you should look at if you're really, really anxious all the time. Anxiety, depression for no reason at all. Unless if you were deeply traumatized, something happened to you, right? Like, or you're in a really messed up situation. If you live a pretty privileged life and you still are anxious and depressed all the time for seemingly no reason, I would really get your thyroid checked. And if you are obese, super morbidly obese, etc., that obesity will do it to you. It just will, especially super morbid obesity. So again, we're coming back to it regardless. There is no way, shape, or form that you are not spiraling. You are spiraling within the toxic ritualistic. You are spiraling outside of it. It is an excuse. It doesn't matter. You're not fooling me. She's not fooling me that she's so calm and collected at this current state that she's in. I don't believe her. I don't. The coping mechanism, it only works as you're doing it. It doesn't work outside of it. The second that you stop BINGing, you feel everything immediately after. It doesn't actually do anything. And you just play this game with yourself. And you go back and forth and you think about it all the time. And you're just trying to think about it because you don't want to actually think about why you're actually anxious. And you have to find other ways to deal with that anxiety, especially from a super morbidly obese perspective. You have to find ways to distract. You have to cut thoughts off and not let yourself spiral without the behaviors. And remember, there are 3 of them. There is BINGE, it's the one that gets the most conversation, but there's also being hyper reductive or changing your lifestyle over and over again. I'm just going to say it that way. And then the last one is obsession with how you look, particularly in regard to size, and toxic, very like negative obsession. So like, I can't stand it, you know, staring into the mirror at times for hours and things like that. It is a way to hide from why you're actually anxious. So of course you're going to spiral in recovery. Of course you are. You don't know how to cope with anxiety. That's the whole point of recovery, is you have to figure it out, which guess what? It means you're going to be anxious, but you're already anxious anyway. So can we just get rid of this impossible standard that there's some way, shape, or form that you're going to get out of the toxic ritualistic world without being anxious? That's not going to happen. That is a ridiculous standard that will never be met. And it is a way to escape recovery. Let's call it what it is.
That I could then talk with my clients around. And so to that end, the framework that I've sort of stumbled into is this concept of body grief. Because the idea...
Horrible. So I think this is already awful to start with. I think it's horrible. Just even the title alone, I think it's horrible. I think it's reinforcing. I think even the idea of body grief, it reinforces a toxic ritualistic cycle. Just those 2 words together is reinforcement. I think it's horrible. I think it's horrible that she's even pretending that she can help. She very clearly is not recovered at all. I don't even understand why anyone would listen to her. I'm going to be honest. As somebody who has recovered, that is disgusting. Viscerally disgusting to even call it that.
idea for many people was that I am going to accept my body. I'm going to find this radical body acceptance. And when you take body acceptance at face value, there's probably this preconceived
I think
notion.
it's already off from the start. You should not accept supermorbid obesity. You should not accept obesity. So that's already off. You're already wrong. What you need to think about is, why am I thinking about this so much? You have to stop thinking about it. And a lot of times when you say that to somebody with these issues, they can barely even consider that that's possible. Why are you thinking about it so much? Well, this and that and the other, and da-da-da. But you're still in control of your own mind. You don't have to. You don't have to. Why are you? If you don't have to, then that means it's your choice. So why are you choosing to think about it so much? I don't play those games. I never say these types of things on my channel because being obsessed with it is not good. It's not good for recovery. You have to stop thinking about certain things because it will make those connections in the brain weaken over time. And then it just doesn't matter that much anymore because when you stop thinking about it, and I had a white knuckling it stage, you know, towards 2021 especially, I really was like, you know, like, I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to think about it. Like, you have to repeat it to yourself like that. That's the pitch of this issue. It's very repetitive. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to think about it. I'd pass the mirror. I'd just take in the information, then I just move on. Take in the information, move on. Take in the information, move on. It's like you don't think about it. Don't think about it emotionally. Don't think about it emotionally. It doesn't matter. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. You don't think about it. After a while, it becomes habit to not. And it's just so much easier to normalize where you're at. I wouldn't necessarily suggest jumping right into WL within recovery because you have to make sure that there's some kind of psychological basis and physical basis. But regardless, you should be eating nutrient-dense food. You should be preparing your body for that. But in like exercising and things like that, but not in a way to get injured. Like, be very careful. So anyways, the point is you have to practice that, but then you start to think about it like a normal person. Normal people don't obsess over it like you are. They don't. And guess what? You can stop and then you won't either. You're not actually trapped in it. That's what I would tell somebody. But she's doing body grief, which is horribly reinforcing. I will just say it is terrible. You know, I would call it, if it was my version, it'd be called body I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't want to think about it. That's my version. Let's not think about it. Let's not talk about it. Let's not think about it. You know, really think about how stupid it is to sit there and freak out about something that changes at a millimeter by millimeter basis. It's like if you looked at yourself in the mirror yesterday, you're probably the same today. So why are you acting shocked? It's not a real emotion. You have to think about it differently. It's not real. It's delusional.
And that you're going to have to like what your body looks like. There's also a preconceived notion that you're going to get to this place where you don't get activated by your body, where you don't feel distress, where you don't...
I don't. I got there, so is she trying to tell me I'm the magical girly pop? I defied all logic. I'm walking on water, according to her. She's just reinforcing. Do not go to her. That is disgusting.
Don't have a quote-unquote bad body image day. And when I
Okay,
realized...
we're taking out the witch hat. I'm done. She just pissed me off. She seriously just pissed me off.
that was an impossible task. I started looking at, well, if acceptance is a
It's not impossible. It's not impossible to not obsess. It's very possible. Yeah. You're lying.
I want to orbit, I'm probably going to have to go through the stages of grief. And so I
No.
remember.
Wrong. No, it was really a matter of I should take my health seriously. I shouldn't be this superficial. I'm being stupid. I don't want to think about it anymore. That's basically what it was. I need to take my health seriously. I'm being ridiculously superficial. I don't want to think about it anymore. That's what it took. And you just stop. Think about something else. Think about something else. It doesn't matter. There's so many things to be upset about. If you want to be upset about something, be upset about something, anything else. Anything else. Go ahead, put on the news. Be upset about what's on the news. Watch a horror movie. Be upset about the horror movie. Do whatever you need to do. There's so many things to be upset about. You can find something else. Get it off of you. It's dangerous. This is dangerous. Get it off of yourself. Get it off of how you look. It's dangerous. If you're upset about the news, it's not going to kill you. If you're upset about a horror movie, it's not going to kill you. If you're upset about murder podcasts and weird stuff, there's so many things to do, to look at that are upsetting. If you need to be upset, then look at something else. You know, I told you guys, one of my biggest transfers was my car. I was always upset about my car, but it didn't kill me to be upset about my car. You got to get it off of yourself. So sitting there, she's telling people to dive into the grief over their body, to go further into it, even further than they were already going. That is horrible. That is terrible, terrible advice. That is reinforcement. That is disgusting. That is dangerous to tell somebody. Especially if they're all in it, they're having huge problems. That is terrible. It's terrible. Think about your health. Don't be so superficial. Stop thinking about it. It's a waste of time. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your energy. You're wasting everything. Like I said, you can be upset about something else. At the very least, it's not dangerous. Waste your time being upset about a guy. Waste your time being upset about your money. Waste your time being upset about the news. Waste your time being upset about something happening in a far distant country. I don't care. I don't care what it is. Waste your time being upset about anything else. But don't do this. This is dangerous. This will kill you. And that's the perspective that people need to have, especially if they're at a very bad place and they're coming into recovery. Think about something else. Go be upset about something else.
Remember, I would see a couple of posts on Instagram about body grief, but then there was nothing. There was nothing further. And so in my own, story, I am no stranger to grief. I have experienced deep loss in my life. And when you look up the definition of grief, it's defined as deep sorrow.
And she is conflating that grief with her body, which is toxic, ritualistic. It's horrible. It's dangerous. You're playing with fire. You're playing with fire. That's horrible. And it should be judged. Do not do that. It is dangerous. It is dangerous to do that. That's what a lot of people do. That's how it works. It's the toxic ritualistic in a nutshell. I have this other issue, but I'll make it about my body instead. That's what the gravestone should say. I had all these other issues, but I made it about my body instead. That should be what would be on your gravestone.
Which, that doesn't help anybody, right? But when you look up the definition of sorrow, it's defined as loss that causes distress. And there was something about that that resonated with me when it came to body. That it wasn't just that my body isn't changing, but it is the loss of what that means for me that is causing distress. And I had to be able to say, I don't like this. This is unfair. This is hard. And simultaneously, I can't fix this. And so
you can fix your toxic ritualistic. That is a huge lie. Liar! You're a liar. And how dare you reinforce this on other women? That is disgusting. You are horrible for that. How dare you?
acceptance changed from being I like my body to this is my body.
Wow.
But notice the emotional quality. It should be, this is my body. That's what it should be. Not, this is my body. No. It's, oh, that's my body. What about it? You see how they use emotions. But I can use them back. And that's my body. What about it? See? That's what it should be.
I have to say, I listened to your Body Grievers podcast, which I would encourage everybody to listen to. I loved it, and I found it so helpful.
We might have to cover that. I think I might have watched that a while back. I'm not sure.
To get to grips with the concept of body grief and the different stages of it, and this kind of shiny object that is acceptance, that it's not that you have to love your body and that you have to like your body. It's different. It's way more nuanced, and there's no way that we can just jump through life loving our bodies every single day.
What you need to do is demystify it. Take the magic out of it. See it for the boringness that it actually is. You know, that's what you need to do. Take the magic out. It's just your body. You know, this is a comb. Should I be crying about the comb? It just is. If I want to change the comb, I could paint it a different color or something. But as of right now, it's a comb and it's this color. And I don't really feel anything about it.
So I have to say it's such an important way of looking at body image, and yeah, I just want to say thank you for coming up with this and to sort of make it easier for people like me to explain it to people and to use it in our practice. And
so where there is a kernel of truth, what I think she's trying to, I don't even know. I think she's just trying to reinforce her issues and reinforce others. What the truth is this ideal version doesn't exist. You need to let that go. You need to see that as a delusion. That is not real. That doesn't exist. There is no ideal version of you. That's an imaginary concept that doesn't exist. It just doesn't. You need to live in reality. You need to be where you are today, now. And that's it. There is no, oh, well, I will be this one day, or, oh, I could have been that, but now I can't and I have to grieve that. No. No. It doesn't exist. It does not exist. So you just stop thinking about it. Why are you spending so much time thinking about something that doesn't exist? And you just move forward, because it's not productive. It's a waste of time. It doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't do anything for you. You're just using it as a weapon, and you have to let that go. And that can feel weird. It's like, whoa, there's a huge vacuum in my brain. What do I do? You see? That's how it should feel. It shouldn't feel like grief. It should feel like, oh, that is kind of stupid. There isn't in this ideal version of me. I don't know what I'm doing. This doesn't exist. If I want to take practical steps towards improvement, I can just do that, rather than have this imaginary version of myself in my head that doesn't exist. It's just, it's a waste of time. It's not productive. It's useless. It's just totally useless. And it's used as a weapon against yourself for no reason, for no benefit. There is no ideal version. You are what you are today, and you can improve and figure it out. But you keep that health first, babes. You always keep your health in mind. Always number one in regard to this stuff. You always do what's healthiest. You don't prioritize aesthetics over health. That's a never.
I'm sure you've helped thousands and thousands of people with it, sort of coming to terms with it. So yeah,
much.
it's brilliant.
I will say that I will never take credit for the term of body grief. I've heard it from other people, but nobody had developed language around it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing that I've done. But truth be told, like, nobody developed language around body image either.
Mm-hmm.
So had all of these people and providers trying to help people heal their relationship with food, heal their relationship to movement, but then not talk.
It's not a relationship. It's just reality. You don't have a relationship with breathing. You just breathe. It can feel really good to take a breath. But that's it. That's how you should view exercise and eating. It's just a part of life. It's like breathing. It's like going to the bathroom. You know, you can enjoy it. Basically, you can enjoy sleeping, for example, sleep. They're basic bodily functions. That's all. It's not like it's bad or whatever. I'm just saying, like, you don't have a relationship with sleep. You don't have a relationship with breathing. You don't have a relationship with the bathroom. It just sounds dumb. And that's how dumb it sounds. Because it's not a relationship. It's just reality. Stop emotionalizing these things. That's toxically ritualistic. That's not real. It's not emotional. Something can be enjoyable without being emotional. You can have a good meal and it's nice, but the meal in and of itself is not emotional. It's just pleasurable. Learn that. But with that, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and go. We'll see if we continue this or not. That was horrible. But let me know what you think. And I will talk to you guys again tomorrow. Have a good one. Peace.